Hello and welcome to another episode of the 10 Minute Bundesliga Previews, the podcast where we give a quick 10-minute summary of each Bundesliga club for the upcoming season, starting with their background, a little bit of club history, moving on to their performance last season in the Bundesliga, and then finally taking into account their transfer moves, and then finishing with a preview and prediction for the 2016-17 season, which is starting this Friday, with the club that we're talking about today at number 1, Bayern Munich. Who else? So Bayern Munich need very, very little introduction. They are probably the biggest club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, biggest club in Germany. They've won 26 Bundesliga titles in 8 of the last 12. Everybody knows them as the Bavarians or FC Hollywood, whatever you want to call them. And, some incredibly famous historic players like Franz Beckenbauer or, Uli Hoeneß. And then, of course, golden eras left and right. When you have 26 titles, every year is a golden era. Playing at the Allianz Stadium right now. So let's talk a little bit about last season. Obviously, they won the Bundesliga again for the 4th straight year, and did so in incredible style with Pep Guardiola basically going on incredible winning streaks and Robert Lewandowski scoring every single goal in sight. And they're breaking many records in the progress, and barely losing a couple of games and sort of crushing the league. So they transfer moves should be interesting. They lost, of course, Pep Guardiola, who went to Man City after his 3 years tenure, and they replaced him with another one of the premier coaches in the league in the world, in Carlo Ancelotti, who will be playing a very different style. It'll be very interesting to see how he does and what he does with this incredible squad. In terms of player movement, not too much. They did lose a couple of players but nobody of incredible significance. Mario Götze is probably the biggest name, who moved to Dortmund for a 22 million fee. And then they also sent Sebastian Rode to Dortmund as well. Center midfielder wasn't really playing a lot, and then they gave up on Pierre-Emil Højbjerg, who was their 20-year-old, was on loan at Schalke the year before, and now he's at Southampton for 50 million. And then they sent Mehdi Benatia back to Serie A with Juventus. He's there on a loan, never really sort of fit in too well. So in terms of so that's their transfer moves, the departures, and in terms of the arrivals, the two really big names, two big stars. One of them is Mats Hummels, who's returning to Bayern, where he was a youth player and where his father worked as well. Needs very, very little introduction. One of the best defenders in the world. Cost him 35 million, which is also what the price they paid for the 18-year-old from Benfica, Renato Sanchez, who you probably saw at the Euros, and was really impressive against Bayern when they barely beat them in last season's Champions League. So those are the two big names that they brought in, but overall they still have an incredibly talented squad, which we're going to take a look at now in preparation for the upcoming season. So in goal, Manuel Neuer, who needs basically could spend another 10 minutes talking about how great he is, but he's the best goalkeeper in the world. He'll be there. In terms of center back, they have probably the best center back pairing in the world with Jerome Boateng and Mats Hummels now, and also Javi Martinez, who is really he's the third choice, which is kind of crazy. And then they have Holger Badstuber if he sort of gets healthy. They're sort of Marco Reus as an option there. And then also they have probably two of the best fullbacks in the world, and David Alaba at the left, who is capable of playing probably 3-4 other positions. And then Philipp Lahm, who's the captain, the right back, and then their backups are very, very solid players in Juan Bernat and Rafinha. So I mean that defense with Neuer, Lahm, Alaba, Hummels, and Boateng. The joke that people have been posting online is Neuer sleeping because he won't get any action, which is kind of actually true. So they have incredible midfielders as well. Joshua Kimmich now, who came up under Guardiola, and then they still have Xabi Alonso, Arturo Vidal, now Renato Sanchez, Thiago. Those are just the center midfielders. I mean, just I don't know how fitting 6 of those guys. I mean, probably only 2 of them will play. And of course, they have also probably the best wing talent in the world with Frank Ribéry, Douglas Costa, Arjen Robben, Kingsley Coman, who's injured now, and then so those 4, that's incredible. And then they have, of course, up top Thomas Müller and Robert Lewandowski, and Julian Green, the American, who did pretty well in preseason. So he looks like he's getting a squad number. So overall, in terms of their prediction, and then how they're going to play and what I expect from next season, I think it's pretty evident that there's going to be a stylistic shift from Guardiola's possession-heavy juego de posición football, which Ancelotti doesn't really play that much. Ancelotti is more of a pragmatist, in my opinion, and he'll give up possession, as you saw in the Super Cup against Dortmund, where they had very little of the ball, and Dortmund dominated most of the game, but Bayern ended up winning, as they usually do. So I see them still probably dominating possession in the German games because they're just so much better than everybody else. But maybe sort of sitting back against some of the other teams, like maybe Dortmund in the Champions League, if they come up against the bigger teams. I see them probably again getting to the Champions League semis and finals. Ancelotti is a Champions League specialist, so there's a tremendous amount of luck in that competition whenever you're playing a knockout round, in terms of the draws and just individual results, and they've been very close, and of course have won it recently. So Bundesliga, I expect them to dominate. I expect them to finish first, of course, with this talent. I think they might not play such an attractive style that they did under Guardiola, but because of the quality of players that they have, and because Ancelotti, who I think will manage his players, maybe not maybe rotate them a lot more, and not focus so much on playing them a lot of minutes. But I think they'll comfortably win the Bundesliga, mostly because it's the same team and manager, and Dortmund have, in my opinion, gotten a little bit worse, and Bayern actually got better with taking probably one of Dortmund's best players in Mats Hummels, and also they still they basically haven't lost anybody who was playing significant minutes. So I see Bayern continuing to dominate the Bundesliga, and then getting pretty far in the Champions League, if not winning the whole thing. In terms of sort of other things for Bayern, they're also really excellent at sort of marketing and promoting the club's brand, social media awareness. I mean, it's just on and on and on. We could probably spend hours talking about a thing they're doing right, and it's very, very difficult to come up with anything that they're doing wrong. So that's basically the 10-minute Bundesliga preview on Bayern, who I expect to keep dominating the league and make it 5 in a row. With Dortmund maybe not being as good, and I do expect Leverkusen to put up some of a fight, but not seriously challenge, I think, either of them. But I don't think there will be an 18-point gap as it was last season between second and third. But and I don't think Bayern will have like 95 points, but they'll win comfortably by, I would say, probably at least 5 points. So that was the 10-minute Bundesliga preview for Bayern, and that's the end of the series of all 18 teams. If you want to listen to all 18 of them, I encourage you to do so. You can do that on SoundCloud, where you can find us at under the username BundesPL, BUENDESPL, or you can also find us on the website, bundespremierleague.com. So if you go on the website, you can find us at the podcast section. You'll find all of these uploaded with little introductions to them and a couple of updates to those. So you can also follow us on Twitter at BundesPL, or you can also follow us under Van Basten ESL. So those are the names you can find us on. And if you like what you heard, you can share it with your friends, give some comment, feedback, and we'll do this again. Thanks for listening. That was a 10 Minute Bundesliga Preview, and enjoy the new season.